Good morning, Tom.
Morning, Paul. How are you doing?
Yeah,
Okay?
thanks for you. Yeah, so
Tom.
thanks so much for doing this for me. This is Tom Wainwright, legendary DJ.
Very kind. Thank you.
When did you get into house music, Tom?
I got into it. Well, basically, when Hot started at Hacienda. So, I know it had been around for a couple of years before that, but by the time Hot came around, June 1988, I'd been going to Hacienda for about a year and a bit already, but it was, more on the kind of scene then, I suppose, on a Saturday night or Thursday night would be, it's very much, Levi's 501's bomber jacket, very Public Enemy, Rare Groove kind of thing.
I saw that.
And kind of, and then lots of polka dot shirts and stuff like that. Anyway, went to the first Hot, at which there were about 50 people, who were proper acid house E-heads on the stage, completely new world. For me, yes, blew me away. And then, the next week, you went back and the whole club was like that.
Yeah.
So it was honestly, from 1 week to the next, the old order just blown away, completely gone.
Yeah.
And I was just, I was obsessed from that point.
So you went to the first Hot night?
Yeah. Wednesday night, whenever it was, June 88.
Yeah.
The house, the swimming pool, the beach balls, people going, the people, dressed completely differently in what became, the kind of house rave uniform, baggy clothes and all that, completely different to what had been the prevailing thing prior to that. And that was it. I was hooked, and I didn't care about much else for years, to be honest.
that got big really fast, and I always think it's amazing because it was a midweek night as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think, when the scene is kind of really blowing up, you can put on a night pretty much any night of the week.
Yeah.
And for that period, only for a short, 2-3 months through the summer, there was a night nearly every night of the week. Maybe not Tuesday, but you go to Legends on Monday, you go to Hot, obviously, on Wednesday. There was stuff on Thursdays, and then Friday, Saturdays, Hacienda, and Sundays. There was stuff. There's that much energy and enthusiasm and excitement that people want to be out every single night.
Yeah.
And and when you're in that kind of the energy flash of that first month or two, that can't be sustained forever. And by the time the autumn came around, Wednesday nights at the Hacienda were kind of they thinned out quite a lot. But by that time, the critical mass had been achieved, and it was more about weekend nights.
Yeah.
And obviously, people that had been going on Fridays for several years before that would say, well, house was nothing new to us, what it was to me, which to some people means I'll always be a Ted, but it's there near the start, if not at the start.
Yeah. Can you remember your first record you bought?
I like to think it was Off the Wall by Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
But I think it might have been Brick in the Wall by Pink Floyd. I know that my sister and I went to there used to be a record shop in Didsbury Village, that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
I think we both went to buy our first record at the same time, so we each bought a 7-inch. And I'd like to say Michael Jackson, but I don't think it was. I think my sister bought that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Can you remember when was you a spinning or Eastern Bloc?
I was, depends on your era, mainly Eastern Bloc, I guess. I used to, from I guess about age 10 or 11, I used to get really excited about, music and musical trends. So when I was about 11, 12, got really into heavy metal.
Yeah, it was really big though, wasn't it?
It was massive, and I went to see AC/DC at the Apollo when I was 12. Still, by a mile, the best gig I've ever been to.
That's amazing.
Nothing will ever beat that, I don't think. Then there was, electro, hip-hop, breaking and all that, well into that. And I did go to, at that point, I was a kind of spinning person. I used to do paper round and get paid about £5 a week, and that would buy you one import 12. So I would kind of, get paid on Saturday, go to town with my week's wages and buy a tune off, I presume, Kenny. Then what happened? Then to the obligatory, if you're my age, Smith's New Order, Indie Phase, morphed into hip hop and then into house in the way I just described.
Yeah.
And by the time I was buying house regularly, mainly Eastern Bloc.
Yeah.
But then a bit later, I used to go when spinning obviously morphed into being Manchester Underground, and I used to go there a lot as well, particularly when I started to work with Graeme at Hacienda, because that's where he went, and he was kind enough to kind of record shops can be intimidating places if you don't know a few people there, and he was kind enough to, well, not that people like Russ and Kenny were intimidating, but
it could be though, couldn't it?
If you kind of get kind of passported in by someone, it can help. And plus, if you started to get with DJ profile, you tend to get slightly preferential treatment. Let's admit it. And so from then I used to get both really. Phases, but varied.
When you were buying records, did you get to go in the cellar in Eastern Bloc and take pick?
I did. They were very kind. They would. Pull things out through the week, and I'd usually go in on a Saturday morning, and they would let me go downstairs and play them, myself, and if you kind of stood in the shop and they're playing them in the shop, after they played 2 or 3 of them and you've said no, you feel like about the 4th or 5th, all right, I'm not really sure, but I really ought to play the game a bit by this. But it was kind of very kind, go downstairs and sort stuff through. I guess it was like, I didn't really go to pubs a great deal at that time. I guess Eastern Bloc was kind of like my pub almost. You go and you stand at the counter and the regulars are there and swapping stories about last night's gig or tonight's gig and stuff like that. And it was kind of there was that kind of community dimension to it. That it was kind of like a social hub as much as the necessary job of restocking on your music. It was, when it like young people don't get to experience that. Where I remember that I used to save up my lunch money and then you'd hang out in Spinning in the afternoon, or you'd hang out in Eastern Bloc. No, definitely. I did do that, but kind of more. It wasn't sort of hanging around there all day because I usually had stuff to do, but there was, it's definitely a scene. People would just stand around all day, go through the racks, and it's their thing. If it's what you're into and you love it, then it's just time well spent as far as you're concerned. With like-minded people.
Did you work at the dry bar?
Yeah. So I worked there when it opened. What happened? So I'd finished my A-levels in 1988. Had no plan really. Hadn't done that well. I wasn't going to university. So started working at a restaurant basically the Monday after I finished my A-levels called Basta Pasta, just off Piccadilly. I was like, my job was, it had the word chef in the name, service chef. All I was doing really was dunking pasta in water, boiling pasta to order and serving it up. But Basta Pasta at the time was quite exotic. Fresh pasta was like, who's heard of that? And they made it on the premises, and they actually had a proper coffee machine, which again in Manchester at that time was like unheard of. Worked there for about a year. Basta Pasta was also good because we stopped the Hacienda's flyers in the restaurant, and that meant you got guest list places at the club every night, and so plus around the same time I'd moved out from home and I was living in Hume in a flat, so the Hacienda was between my flat and work, so you could finish like 11ish wedding night from Wednesday to Saturday and just bob in on your way home. Well, actually, on the weekend nights it was more of a serious event going to Hacienda, but maybe when Thursday night or something you'd nip in for 20 minutes or something like that. And but anyway, so I rambled off there. After I'd been there for about a year, dry opened. Bumped into Leroy. He said he needed like someone to do the pot washing in the kitchen basically. So that's what I started doing. And when Dry first opened, Laurent Garnier was the chef. So he was the chef and I was washing up. And it was fun times, good times. And then kind of, how long was I there? About a year. Then I left and did about 6 months office temping. Then went back to Dry. That's where I went on by then, about late 1990. And then the kind of DJ bit kind of started to do bits of that. And so I was at Dry off and on till about 1992, I would say. But it was good times, fun.
It was really exciting when that bar opened, wasn't it?
Oh yes, I mean it was like, on busy evenings, which was most evenings, it was 5 or 6 deep at the bar. It was like proper. it was unique kind of drinking place in Manchester at the time, in the same way that Hacienda was unique in nightclubs at the time, terms at the time. You know, we have lots and lots of, you know, bars now that aren't pubs and stuff like that, but you forget how like unusual that was back then.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's like it landed from another planet almost.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you had the evenings where it was like that, but then also you had the Saturday afternoons in there where people had been at Hacienda the night before, and then from like, you know, early afternoon onwards, it would just be absolutely mobbed out with people who were just carrying on with the session.
Yeah.
And but you know, the buzz around the place and around town generally at that point, you know, it really was the epicenter of lots of things, be it acid house, be it a couple of years later, you know, Manchester kind of guitar driven stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, it was all the massive buzz around the city to be part of.
When did you start DJing at Hacienda?
So I kind of been going for several years. I used to buy lots of records, buy loads and loads of records. I hadn't really done much DJing at all, but you know, I was keen to have a go. When things were a bit less cutthroat then, it wasn't, you know, everyone wanted to be a DJ, everyone's firing mixtapes off to everyone. It's more like, do you fancy having a go kind of thing? Not quite that, you know, open door, but I guess because through going there a lot and getting to know a few people, let's be honest, if you kind of got to know a couple of the right people, what happened? They went through this period of like putting like unknown people on in the Gay Trader on a Wednesday night. Yeah. And they asked me if I wanted to do that. And you know, I was super excited because I was going to DJ at Hacienda. Anyway, the day of that came round, so we're in about March 91 was the day the club shut. Yeah. Lost the licence for whatever reason. Yeah. So I didn't get to play. So yeah, gutted about that. However, but you know, while the club was closed and they were getting the licence back, Paul Collins, you know, visionary promotions manager, said, you know, we're kind of thinking about, you know, we think rather than have Mike and Graeme play together, I think Mike's going to do Fridays, Graeme's going to do Saturdays. We need a warm-up DJ. Would you do a kind of demo tape for Graeme to have a listen to? So I did one. I've no idea if Graeme ever listened to the tape or not. I've never actually asked him. And I'm sure if I did, he'd say, oh yeah, I played it. Yeah. But anyway, I got the gig, and scandalous in some ways, really. I'm only playing like about my second or third gig in public, and I'm warming up in the big room at Hacienda, barely know what I'm doing. Yeah. I got there that night, because I'd never been in about 2 or 3 DJ booths ever. I remember one time I'd been in one, I'd seen those pair of headphones hanging up in the booth, and I was like, okay, that nightclubs must provide headphones for DJs. You don't need your own headphones. Yeah. Anyway, I got to the club, you know, 9:15 that day, you know, excited as hell, but you know, also absolutely bricking it. And it turns out headphones don't live in DJ booths. DJs are meant to have their own headphones. So my mate had to bomb it round to Graeme's hotel to borrow his. Yeah. At which point I'm sure Graeme was like, who on earth is this clown that we've got on? But you know, my mate came back with Graeme's headphones. It all, you know, went okay from there. And yeah, I was lucky, you know. I was there like every week for like 5 years.
Was it 5 years that you played?
Yeah. So 91 till about 96, I stopped doing it every week, and the kind of, you know, Saturday nights changed from. The night had never had a name; it just has been Saturday night at Hacienda. Yeah. Then it kind of became Freak for a while, and I kind of started playing about once a month from then. And then by the time the club closed, I think I only had like 1 gig in the diary with it. But I'd say for like the first. So I started there like April, May 91. Yeah. I'd say first 2 or 3 years were brilliant years, you know. It was packed every week. Yeah. The violence hadn't really got that bad at that point. It was a golden age of, you know, that kind of US and US influenced house that, you know, was like this Graeme and I kind of specialised in. Yeah. In terms of, you know, constant productions by Masters at Work, by Frankie Knuckles, by David Morales, you know, in his kind of, you know, gilded period, Terence Parker, and then plus, you know, kind of a lot of the UK producers that kind of started to do something similar. So yeah, you know, it didn't really matter if Saturday night was on the 3rd of January, it'd still be sold out. It was phenomenal. And, you know, then, got to be honest, as the years went by, it did tail off a bit. There's a bit more competition from clubs in other places. The Hacienda wasn't quite as unique as it had been. Scene started to change a bit. Then the Hacienda had its, you know, well documented issues, you know, with management and security and violence and but yeah, those first few years DJing were tremendous. You know, it's comfortably the best club I ever played at, and I'm very lucky in that. Got to go to lots of places around the world and play lots of places, and yeah, it'll always be comfortably the best place I've been to or worked at.
Do you know, and the Facebook group Hacienda Social, I'm not sure if you're in it, but
I'm not on Facebook.
So there's a thread about Tom Wainwright, and it's like 228 people. It's got the most, like 228 people, and there's tons of comments saying how good you are.
Oh, that's very nice. They're nice to hear. Nice to, you know, it's nice. You know, you kind of say, "Oh, I'm just not too bothered about that," but actually, you know, if you're honest, it's nice. It's nice for people.
Yeah.
I know there are lots of people that think you're garbage, but they tend not to come up to you and tell you that you're garbage. So it tends to be, you know, mainly, people that you know, actually liked it and come up and it does feel nice. And people say, you always get annoyed with people coming up and saying hello, or you know, you occasionally get recognised, very occasionally, in the street or something. It's lovely. It's really
nice. I'll give David Dunn a shout as well, because he's coming around later on, but he said that for you, like, he said, best warm-up DJ he's ever seen, and it takes a real skill, and to manage your ego, to not drop in a massive tracks and just keep it to the point where when Graeme Park came on, he would have the place would just go insane.
Well, that was my not sound like Roy Keane. It was my job, but you know, I enjoyed it, and you know, you'd start off with kind of quite a lot of long, kind of deep USy type things, and then I would probably play from like 9 to 11, and then Graeme would do like 11 till 2-ish, and then so you know, you build it. You wanted to build it to a point where Graeme could go where he wanted, so he didn't have to kind of, if you haven't taken it too far, where he just has to kind of bang it out immediately. If he wants to take it, you know, let's keep the same level, take it down a bit, or you know, take it up. It's completely up to him. And but you could do that in a kind of, you know, I know there was the downstairs in Aston as well, but in terms of like the dancing space, one big room place, people can't get bored and go off somewhere else, even if they were bored. And you know, it's not like now where everyone's loads and loads of DJs on the bill and everyone's got an hour and everyone needs to make an impression and everyone needs to, you know, have some big moments put on their socials. You could kind of, you know, take your time with it, and then, you know, nights definitely benefit from that, even if people don't realise, you know, if there's a gradual kind of, you know, build up of the energy, then, you know, it pays dividends throughout the night, really. And so yeah, no, I just loved doing it. It was great fun, and you know, you're playing records you weren't playing when you were kind of, you know, being a kind of featured DJ somewhere else. And the club used to they used to not turn the lights on for about an hour and a half, and they would kind of, you know, so the people in the booth next door to the DJ booth that were doing the lights, they would kind of, you know, pick up on a particular point where, you know, right, okay, lights on now, they'd all come on. That would, in itself, would get a kind of big, you know, reaction from the crowd, and something you never really see now. It's not to say things are worse; it's just things have changed.
Yeah, you were really good. I went to the Warehouse Project on Saturday. You were really good at that. Do you know the week before I went to Anif put an event on the Berlin exhibition.
All right.
And tell you what I was really impressed with was that Hugh and Clark, so he must be like 67 now. Someone asked him a question like, have you thought about doing anything like that again with Berlin? Yep. And they said that they've been looking for a venue. And I thought, wow, he's 67 and he's still looking at putting a club night on somewhere.
If you love it, you love it. You know, I kind of... Yeah, I've realised I'm not sure I'm ever going to get tired of it, to be honest. Not so much partly DJing, but also just going out. I love going out and dancing to dance music. Yeah. It's kind of almost a hobby. Yeah. Not a hobby, you know, it's a passion, I suppose, more than a hobby. But, you know, 3 weeks ago, I went to Brighton for a couple of mates. Well, with a couple of mates for a night out. A few weeks before that, I just went down to London just for the evening for like Danny Crivet, Cosmo Murphy night. Just find it endlessly enjoyable.
Yeah,
I think it always will. And
I don't think it's going to go out of us, is it?
No, I don't. Well, especially not now. I'm mid-50s, 55 this week, and yeah, I love it. I love it as much as ever. I really do, and I think, you know, if it's got you in that way, and you know, just the again, you don't have to be DJing. I'm just happy on the dance floor with like-minded people enjoying good music is just a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
you know, and why should you stop doing it?
Do you know when I was at school, I looked at the spinning charts, and then we used to think it sounded ridiculous, house music, and I'm just thinking now that would have been in like 1986, 87, and like, how was that 50 years ago? It's still going. Was it 40 years ago?
Well, it's nearly 40, isn't it?
You wouldn't have thought at the time, would you, house music?
Well, I was the same, to be honest. I remember like Housemaster Boys, House Nation was on top of the pops all week. So this must have been about 1986, because I can remember it being in O-level geography class the next day, saying to mates, "What was that on the Top of the Pops last night?" Just went rubbish. And then, of course, you know, I think you need to hear house in a club to kind of truly understand it.
Yeah.
And when you do, it's like, you know, it's not for everyone. A lot of people, there'll still be like my reaction in geography class, but you know, for a lot of people, you kind of you get on the dance floor and you're like, okay, this is why this music's been made.
Yeah.
This is what it exists to do. And and off you go from there. But yeah, definitely went on a bit of a journey in terms of my initial impressions to what was kind of, you know, I guess, defined my adult life. Yeah. Basically.
Yeah, and then when something like Ecstasy came along as well at the same time, that just took the music to another level, didn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I was 18 in 1988, didn't have much planned, and just get on board.
Yeah.
It was exciting times.
Yeah. I was saying to my mate yesterday, so we went on a hike yesterday. That's how we catch up nowadays. Back in the day, we'd meet in the dry bar in the afternoon, but now we go for hikes. And I feel like we lived through the best time, really, because I know older people tend to say that, but there would have been aggression with punk, wouldn't there?
It feels like there was. I wasn't there, but it seems that way. I mean, every generation thinks, you know, they're having more fun than any generation went before them. Yeah. And, you know, you should never try and take that away from people. I mean, my daughter's 19, my son's 17. They were both at the Wales Project last week. Yeah. So he's 18, my son is 18. They had a brilliant time, you know, they're having the time of their lives. I remember when I was like 18 and, you know, you find yourself in some back room at someone's gaff after a night out, and there'd be someone there who's like late 20s, and they're going, yeah, this isn't as good as it was then, and this tune that you like, that's just a cover version of a disco record. Yeah. I don't want to hear it, Grandad. You know, it's a great time here. That said, I'll forever regard myself as incredibly lucky to have, you know, been that age in Manchester at that time when, you know, phenomenal youth culture movement is blowing up literally on my doorstep. Yeah. You know, that's proper, you know, good fortune. Yeah. And just take advantage of that or regret it forever.
Do you know, like we were saying this yesterday as well, that people went on to do things with lives and be successful from them scenes. Yeah. And you're another lawyer.
I am, yeah. Been doing it for 20 years in September. Yeah.
Have you been doing that long?
Yeah. I DJed full time from like 92 till 2004 when I started as a trainee solicitor. Yeah. I DJing over that period when it was full time job. Sometimes your flavour of the month, you're dead busy, phones ringing non-stop, going everywhere, and then other times it takes a dip. You're wondering, you know, wouldn't mind a few more gigs in the diary. It goes quiet. Then then your flavour of the month again, and you're on that mini kind of roller coaster. And then kind of in the early 2000s, I probably had my last kind of up period, and then as that started to fade, you're like, well, I don't know if I can spin this out for an entire working life.
Yeah.
And, you know, even if I want to, but even by that point, I wasn't even certain I wanted to. But it's not up to you anyway. If people don't want to book you, it doesn't matter how badly you want to DJ. So, you know, I've always been a bit sensible by the average DJ standards, and in the late 90s, while I'd had lots of free time during the week, so I just DJing at weekends, and well, I can just carry on playing the PlayStation all day, or I can go to university and kind of started to accumulate a degree. I did, in 97 I started a degree at MMU, did 2 years of it, had a year off to kind of do, you know, I travelled a lot with DJing that year actually. Went back, finished it, had another year off, and that was at the point I was just mentioning where I was like looking for stuff I could do. And when you've kind of had the ups and downs of self-employment, a job that offers like a steady, you know, defined career path, it's quite appealing. So it's like, oh, if I kind of convert my degree to law, which you can do in an intensive 1 year course, then you can become a solicitor. So I did that, and it's 20 years. You also realise that, you know, no job is as steady as you think. But it's turned out well. It's a good job. You can do it till you retire. I can sell my outlet of DJing a gig or two a month, and it's you can't fault the logic of the career decision. Sometimes, you know, you do wonder. Office jobs can be a bit dull compared to what you've done in the past. But, you know, at the same time, I think, you know, it needed to happen. I think by the time I stopped playing full time, I was worn out by the treadmill of the guest DJ circuit. I think it had also got a bit sick of me. We both needed a break. I didn't DJ at all for like 5 years, from about 2005-06 till the early 2010s. The retro scene was kind of starting to become a thing. I was initially very, you know, opposed to it. Wasn't why I'd got into, you know, house. So I would kind of turn down the gigs I was getting offered in that period. Plus the kids were really little. I was kind of, you know, in a fairly domesticated phase of life then as well. But then one day I got asked to do one. I think it was Hacienda one at Sankey's, and found myself saying yes. And I really enjoyed it. You know, it's fun. It's great. It's great to be back out. You know, you reconnect with, you know, clubs and going out. You remember why you loved it. You see friends and faces and people, you know, you're not seeing for ages.
You do, don't you?
It was terrific. And so since then I've kind of, you know, done, you know, well, the last couple of years it's got busier again. But by busy, I mean like a gig or two a month. I don't really want to do any more than that, because the day job is quite intense. You do need the weekend to. What
type of law do you do?
It's pretty niche, procedural and very good conversation stopper. Actually, I work for housing associations. Not entirely, but mainly. But on the kind of governance, structural, corporate, organisational side of things. So I don't know anything about property law. Don't know anything about landlord and tenant law. It's more procedural stuff about projects, joint ventures, mergers. Let's not waste any more of our time talking about that. But you know, it's pretty dry. But I like it because the clients are well-meaning. I know housing associations don't always get everything right, but they are genuinely well-meaning charities that operate for a social purpose. And you know, that's where I find my job satisfaction. In the law is working for well-meaning people.
I think I always lose track of the time. I think we're getting the half-hour spot, which is finished.
Okay.
And I always try and finish, and this might be an impossible question, this, but...
Okay, cheers, Paul.
Can you think of a favourite house track from your DJing days?
Favourite child. I love... Picking one is quite hard. I did love the David Morales Death Mix stuff, particularly, you know, the dubs. You know, really, really loved the kind of moodiness but also soulful nature of them. Picking One would be hard. I love most Masters at Work productions. I did have Terence Parker is a producer I really loved. He was, again, kind of joyful but also slightly morose in a lot of his productions. So, and then also, I really love Reach by Lil Mo Yin Yang, which has been a bit tainted because made partly by Louis Vega, who's obviously a hero.
Yeah.
My son's called Louis for a reason.
After Louis Vega?
Yeah. Well, not entirely, but it's a big chunk of it.
Have you met him?
Yes. Yeah. We're not in anything, any kind of, I'm not his mate or anything like that. I've said hello, that's right, basically. But it's also made by Eric Murillo, I think. I'm not very good at small print on records, so if I am slandering anyone, fine. And we all know he kind of, things happen with Eric that means, I generally, so I'm going off on one for the last question.
No, it's fine,
I'm generally not a person who can divorce the art from the artist, so I know I said earlier that I was kind of hoping that my first record would be by Michael Jackson, but I don't actually think you should play his music these days, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know people take this, analogy to extremes, and usually they end up with, something Hitler related, but I do think it is a good benchmark to go by. Is would you have an Adolf Hitler painting in your house?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then you also shouldn't play music by people who've may have done bad things. However, so I shouldn't really have mentioned Lil Mo at all, should I? I've completely stitched myself up there. But
Hey, sorry,
phenomenal record.
Yeah.
And so leave it at that.
Tom, thanks so much.
That's all,
I'll stop recording now.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.